record. Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment, and I'm back here on my channel. Finally, we had a big old holiday kind of break here, had family over and things like that, and I finally got a chance to come back and make a video. And it's kind of like an old hat video that I'm pulling my buddy Sam St. John back in again, and we're going to do another one from my series of "Was This Album Really That Good?" And so I got my buddy Sam St. John back with us. Sam, how you been, man?
Very good. Happy New Year to everybody. Brian, nice to be back on the channel.
Yeah. I think what was the last one we did? Was it the Beastie Boys that you and I did together? Was it Licensed to Ill?
Yeah, we had a couple of close ones. We did I'm a Gumma with Pink Floyd and then Beastie Boys.
Beastie
Yeah,
Boys, that's correct, right? So that was awesome.
probably about four or
Um,
5 months ago.
yeah, so I knew we had to get back and do this here. So I'm glad to be back on the channel. Sam, I'm glad you decided to do this one with me. This is kind of fun. It's funny is that we're both kind of in the same from the same neck of the woods, even though I'm way up in Maine now. So that Southwestern Virginia
Mm,
area is kind of where I herald from. And now we're doing an artist that's really not that far away from there,
right.
where he's basically known from. So, um, yeah, but today, like I said, I'm joined by Sam. So, Sam, today we're going to be talking about an album from an artist that I have recently seen live at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. This year marked his 10th anniversary of this album's release. And at that concert, he performed the entirety of the album in track order to start the show. And then he had some encore songs and stuff as well. So, and I'm talking about the former drive-by trucker Jason Isbell and his masterpiece album, Southeastern. It was released in the summer of 2013. Many regard Southeastern as his magnum opus of his catalog, they heralded as a Americana gem for the ages. In 2020, Southeastern was ranked in Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time at number 458, and is produced by Dave Cobb. He's kind of a well-known producer in that neck of the woods. The album has recently reached gold status through IRAA, and the album was also ranked at number 28 in the top 100 albums of the 2010s, with a Metacritic rating of 87, which is just outstanding. 87 is really high. Recently, Jason won Artist of the Year at Pace Magazine, coming off of the heels of his critically acclaimed Weathervanes album, which he's nominated for a couple Grammys, as well as starring in Martin Scorsese's new movie Killers of the Flower Moon. So, with that in mind, Sam, I know you and I have somewhat similar tastes in music, even though I kind of lean toward hip hop a little bit more maybe than you do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let you go first, and as usual, I'll take the last word on this. So, talk about the album and give us an overall score.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of harken on it. While I wanted to do this album, I knew that you saw him at the Ryman do this album, and have a whole story behind that, which I'm sure you'll tell or touch on. But I wanted to do it kind of similarly to why I wanted to do the Pink Floyd album a few months ago. Is that I'm a newcomer to Jason Isbell. Obviously, I know his name very well. I mean, I guess I first heard of Jason probably 2017-ish. So he's kind of been in my radar. He was good friends with John Prine, one of my favorites for those that don't know. He's all over John Prine's last album, Tree of Forgiveness. They did some shows together acoustically. Him and his wife, Amanda Shires, are huge Prine acolytes. And they even have kind of given the CMA, the Country Music Association, the middle finger because of John Prine's dismissal from their in memoriam segment after he died from COVID in 2020. So that's when I was like, wow, this Isbell guy's the real deal. Like, he's a pure outlaw guy. And obviously his story, which is all over this album, fits him right in there with guys like Willie Nelson and Merle and Waylon and Johnny, all those guys. But I was always kind of hesitant to get into his stuff. There was something about him that I just couldn't get into. I don't know if it was his voice at the time. Like, for some reason, like, I wanted his voice to have more grit, stuff, more of like a rasp to it, more, like he smoked 30 or 40 packs a day.
Like a whiskey tenor type of voice,
A
maybe.
whiskey tenor kind of
Yeah.
voice, yeah. Even, I mean, not like a Bryan Adams voice, but like a voice like that. Like, it's really gritty. And it wasn't quite there. But then I started really, getting pushed. I have a buddy on YouTube named Tommy, who was really like, you need to really try Isbell. You like Tom Petty, you like all this stuff, get into it. So I finally hunkered down, listened to Southeastern. It was the first full record that I listened to by Isbell, and listened to it 2 or 3 times last year. Actually, is the first time I ever listened to it, last March or April, and really, really liked it after I got into it. And I was able to see Isbell on his Weathervanes tour, his current tour, sometime in the late summer of last year, and that was really cool to hear a couple of these songs live as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a as an overall piece, you might even call it kind of a concept album to an extent, just because the themes are so dark. I mean, it opens up with his biggest song, which is "Cover Me Up," which is being covered now by modern country guys, that we won't go into because it's garbage. But but the
Yeah,
song
I've
itself,
heard it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the song itself is it's Jason's, and Jason's alone as far as I'm concerned. And it's just like one of those album openers that you hear, you're like, this guy is moving us into a different direction. This isn't just like a country pop song or anything like that. I mean, he doesn't even try to do any kind of mainstream sound, because it's not really a country album. It's not a rock album by any means. It's a songwriter's album, I would say first, with a lot of country and some rock tones on a few of the songs, but um, just a beautiful opener with "Cover Me Up." Again, it's one of those songs he does at every show, probably toward the end. The song "Stockholm," the second one, has some great lines in it. It's a little bit breezier than "Cover Me Up." It's got harmony vocals by his wife Amanda Shires, who at this time was part of his band, pretty much full time. The line that I wrote down, he said, "Ships in the harbor and birds on the bluff don't move an inch when their anchor goes up. And the difference with me is I've fallen in love. Stockholm, let me go home." And of course, Stockholm syndrome. You're locked in, into like to a rut. But he kind of plays it off by talking about Stockholm and the actual place in Sweden, and then talking about just kind of being locked up in the same kind of space in life. Um, Traveling along is a really good, again, another mid tempo. A lot of these are mid tempo kind of songs. Um, Great acoustic guitar playing. One of the lines on here that really just shows that he's kind of like at that rock bottom is he says, "So high the street girls wouldn't take my pay. They said come see me on a better day." I mean, that's
Mhm.
when you're at your lowest, when you can't even get that kind of action on the streets.
Yeah.
And we've kind of touched on it, but obviously this album is dealing with Jason at this point, his recent sobriety. And again, this album just hit its 10-year mark in 2023, and he came out with a remaster version of
Yeah.
it here with the new updated picture, which is really cool because there he is,
Yeah.
quite, you got a little bit more weight on him coming off of, probably some drinking and drugs. I mean, he was clean, but he was slowly coming off of that. And here he is, pretty established as a career. Has written songs for a lot of different people. So again, 10 years, big difference in Jason's life, but that's a great tune. The song "Elephant," that's one of those songs that um, I'm sure is very hard for a lot of people to listen to. And a lot of people can relate to it.
Yeah.
Um, just singing about the elephant in the room is what it's about. It's about a couple, and the wife or the girlfriend has cancer, and she doesn't want to talk about it. She says one of the lines, "Andy, you crack me up, Seagram's in a coffee cup, sharecropper eyes, and her hair almost all gone. She was drunk. When she was drunk, she made cancer jokes." I mean, stuff like that is just like, he's not beating around the bush about what he's talking about there. It's just about trying to enjoy what she can. He sings about singing her favorite country songs, and getting high and drunk together, just because she's kind of like, I'm at the end here, so let me just take it as it comes. And it can be a tough listen, especially depending on the mood that you're in listening to it at that time. Um, "Flying Over Water" is a great kind of one of the little bit rockier tunes. It's got some great electric guitar in it.
Mhm.
Jason has some great guitar tones when he plays the electric. Um, "Different Days," again, one of my favorites on there. Again, really breezy, kind of a guitar run throughout the whole thing. That do do do. It's just him going down on this. I think it's some sort of drop tuning on it. But again, another fantastic song. I mean, it's just, this is one of those albums that has no filler on it, I don't think.
I
And
Yeah, I'm hard pressed. There's not a song on there that I dislike at all.
no, and
No.
none of them. I mean, the next one after that, "Live Oak," he's got like this cool, like acapella, almost like mountain kind of sound to it. He sings the first whole stanza, a cappella, and then that acoustic guitar comes in, and it's just like, man, this is so good. One of my favorites, probably in the top three on the album, is "Song She Sang in the Shower."
Yeah, that's my favorite of this.
Awesome, awesome tune. He says, "I repeat the mantras that might keep me clean for the day. And the songs that she sang in the shower all ring in my ear, like Wish You Were Here, How I Wish You Were Here." Just playing with those song titles throughout. I mean, he changes the songs every time he gets to the chorus.
Right.
Experience robs me of hope that you'll ever return. So I breathe and I burn. I breathe and I burn. Like, come on. Like, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Even though, it's tough subject matter. It's really, really great songwriting. Relatively easy. Another track. Again, he says, I should say I keep your picture with me every day. The evenings now are relatively easy. Just, again, another, it's hard for me to stop saying, great song, because every song just seems to be, great. New South Wales, another favorite of mine on the B side. And again, you listen to all this stuff and you're like, even if you haven't experienced it, somebody who has, whether it's addiction or, losing somebody to addiction or being addicted yourself, whatever it might be, we can all point to somebody, if that struggles with that, even if it's yourself. And again, a lot of albums, the second side is usually the one that you're like, oh, that's kind of the weaker side. But then, he throws out a song like Super 8 Motel or Super 8. And the first line is literally, "Don't want to die in a Super 8 motel." But it's covered up as this, kind of a rockin' tune, like I don't even know what style you would call it, but it's probably the rockiest song on the album.
It's some type of quasi honky tonk song that it's like the one song it's a great song where it doesn't feel like it quite belongs on the album.
Right.
Yeah.
He just jumps the gun right into it, just like with the drums, jump right into it. And I remember the funny thing was when I saw him again, I've only seen him the one time. There was a little girl sitting in front of me, probably about 10 or 11. And he starts singing the song, and she starts singing it with him. I'm thinking, like, she probably has no idea what he's singing about. I mean, he's literally talking about, a cheap motel on the road, ODing essentially, and not wanting to end his life doing something like that, like on that, lowest level of, how your days can end. And then, the album closes with just the beautiful, Relatively Easy. Again, another favorite. On the album. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I mean it's a fantastic record. Again, every time I listen to it, I hear more in it. There's a lot of lyrics to unpack. I mean, I could read off lyrics after lyrics after lyrics. I mean, each stanza is about something, dark or deep, and occasionally about love, but it's a lot to unpack. I mean, it's definitely one that you might hear it the first time and think, like, oh, this thing doesn't rock, or it's not a country album if you really are into country music. But yeah, I mean, it's a great place to start with Isbell, especially if you don't know anything about him. This is the place anybody should start.
Yeah. What score do you think you're going to give the album?
The score. I would give it I would probably give it. It's going to be right around an 8. I would say, for me. I should mention, I do like Dave Cobb a lot. I mean, he produces a lot of people that I like, Chris Stapleton and Isbell, and his cousin Brent Cobb, who's another good kind of outlaw country singer. I would give it an 8, and probably the reason I would give it an 8 and not something higher is because, again, for me, like, I haven't lived this life that Isbell is singing about. And I do know people that have lived this life. They just haven't been in my close circle. So I think if I were to ever, I hope never, but if somebody that I really am close with hits that level, I think listening to these songs, in retrospect, would be like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Right.
But it's well produced, great instrumentation, great singing with, him and Amanda, and the band is top notch.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right. So 8.0, that's not bad. I guess I'll preface mine with, you've listened to Jason Isbell even before I did, then, because I really only listened to them like 2020. Yeah, maybe 2020. I picked them up when Reunions came out, and I really liked Reunions so much that I recommended it to Rich Strickler, that buddy.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And for a CD exchange that we were doing. So But then I got a chance to go visit my daughter who lives outside of Nashville. So and my wife, as a treat, scored. She got me some tickets to go to the Ryman. Well, the story behind it is that our tickets fell through somehow. It didn't get transferred over to AXS from Ticketmaster, and we were just lucky that when we were leaving, a gentleman who actually worked at the Ryman had these extra tickets. These buddies weren't going to show up for the night, and he gave them to us, and we were like in the third row. We were
Yeah.
just right there, as close as you could possibly think that you would. And so I got to see him live, and what a real treat that it was that he was doing Southeastern as a whole. And what I really appreciate is his attention to sound quality all the time. He switched out guitars almost every track. One of his road guys would come out and hand him a different guitar that was perfectly tuned
Wow.
to do the next song. That's how much he cared about everything that he played. And so yeah, we talk about Cover Me Up. That was that when he came out and he started singing that and he hits that first high note on the chorus, man, the crowd just goes completely wild. And then the Ryman, it just got this weird ambient sound in there that just sounds so good because it's got that old look and old acoustics mixed with all this new technology stuff. It's really interesting to see. And I do what I like too is like when he got to Traveling Alone. I read a story prior to that, is that when he knew that he had made it as an artist when he went to a Bruce Springsteen concert and Bruce Springsteen covered Traveling Alone out on
Wow.
stage. He said, that's when I knew I made it, you know.
Wow.
So that, when he goes to concerts like that and you listen to his sound, I would identify him as an Americana artist long before I'd identify him as a country artist.
Oh yeah.
He certainly definitely appeals to country, and if you had to come up with some type of way to describe it, I guess alternative country, which people like Sturgill Simpsons in that
Mhm.
vein, and folks like that. But yeah, that cover version I heard of "Cover Me Up" by Morgan, was it Morgan Wallen?
Morgan Wallen, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care for that very much at all. But my favorite track on there is "Songs She Sang in the Shower." You alluded to the fact that they in the chorus he changes it up. That has "Wish You Were Here" was one of them, and then "Yesterday's Wine" was another one, and "Bring Out Your Dead." All these little allusions to other songs. But what I like, everything's very personal in there. Whether you've gone through it or not, is the elephant you've touched upon, which is cancer related in a spouse or a girlfriend, and then the one Yvette, where it's like his neighbor friend, his a friend who's a girl who goes to school, probably a schoolmate, is being abused by her stepfather or
Yeah.
father, maybe even, and it's the song's all about him taking the guy out, sighting in his gun scope to shoot this guy who's been abusing his friend from school. It's a really serious song, and somehow or another he still makes the album entertaining in a way. He splashes enough really good melodic tunes in there to kind of get you into a really good healthy mindset, and doesn't just burden you down, even though he has deep songs on there like that. Sometimes an artist, if they put tracks on there like that and they have no place for the mind to rest and relax, people just won't go back to it because it'll be just too depressing for them.
Yeah.
um yeah, songs I sang in the shower, Traveling Alone, uh, definitely one of my favorites. Cover Me Up is probably my third favorite. You said Relatively Easy. That also had some very personal things in there. I think he talked about a friend whose wife took his kids away and then he overdosed on Klonopin. It's another serious subject matter there. But Jason's just got this wholesome thing about him, and I think it's because he went down a road and found his way back, that's what adds quality to his music. When you listen to Southeastern, this is a story of somebody's real life, things that he's gone through, he sings it authentically, and it sounds authentic.
Yeah.
I would have to. I mean, I guess I would give it an 8.75. Pretty easy. I think maybe there's only two tracks where I go, I'm not sure if it kind of fits the conceptual mode that you got going, and that one of them Super 8. And Live Oak, for some reason, just doesn't feel right where they placed it. Maybe if they placed it in a different spot on the album, it would have
Yeah.
felt a little better. And sometimes that does matter, but it's hard. I don't dislike any track on there. Super 8, I mean, that's any other time. If you pull that out and put that on Here We Rest, or maybe a Nashville Sound album that they
Hmm.
had, probably fit a lot better. But
Right.
um, yeah, 8.75 for me. So not bad.
So where does it rank for you with other Isbell records that you've heard?
It's definitely my favorite. I Reunions is right up there next. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of tossed up between. I imagine Here We Rest is probably going to be the third one. I know a lot of people like Weathervanes. I do like some of the tracks on Weathervanes. Like the one I find the most interesting is the last track, Miles.
Mm,
It's got this Neil Young beginning to it,
hmm
and it's like it's a long track. It's like 7 minutes long, and you get halfway in, and suddenly it sounds like it's Paul McCartney
mm,
in Wings. If you listen to the melody, and it's so good.
yeah,
And I like, wow, I was just amazed when he did a track like that. I'm like, hey, that's like his band on the run,
yeah,
the whole track. So
yeah.
I got it right up there. So
Cool.
sorry, I'm losing my voice, everybody. I just just got over the flu from last week and everything, but we need to
Oh
get the
man,
video done. So, but there, we got it done, man.
we got it done.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you showing up. Sam just reached 1,000 subs on his channel, guys. Big props to him. I'm going to put a link to his channel down below. If you haven't checked out his stuff already, please go over to his website, sub him, like some of his material, sub, like, comment down below. Tell us your favorite Isbell tracks. That's perfectly fine by me. And tell us whether we got the rankings right or not. So until next time, everybody, you guys take care. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.